That's a light.
Hi friends, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we are back inside Wanda, the 1961 Shasta, and for all of you who have joined in on the journey of Wanda's recovery, as it were, thank you for being here. Please subscribe to the channel, like the videos. Most of the people who watch this video aren't subscribed to the channel, so please subscribe to the channel, help me out, let's grow this channel and keep the fun rolling. Now, the road back for Wanda is taking a bit of a detour, and that detour is a music festival. A multi-day music festival called Desert Daze. We are fixing up Wanda so that some of the staff can sleep inside of Wanda while they keep the music festival going throughout multiple days. Our family has grown up at Desert Daze ever since we met Phil and Julie, both in bands, he in a band called Juju, and she one half of the powerhouse duo Deep Valley. It's been a love affair. And we happened to be going to a music show that was outdoors at one of our local colleges. And at the show, Phil and Julie were supporting this fledgling project of Desert Daze that had only been going on a few years. And when we met, we started talking, trailers got brought up, and they said, oh, we wonder if you have a trailer we could borrow for our staff. It just so happens, I did. Long story short, we've provided trailers throughout the years as our family's gone to every year of Desert Daze, from the time that my daughter could sit on my shoulders as an aspiring drummer, holding her drumsticks and beating them to the beat of every song that came on, to now. My son is going to be 18 in just a few days. He's embarking on his college career soon, and this could be the last Desert Daze that we all spend together, at least under one roof. This is a very special turn of events. Our friends at Desert Daze reached out to me and asked if I had another trailer. You know, Wanda's not in that great a shape, but I said, you know what, yes, let's do this. I will bust it out. I will make this work for you guys. I want to support this show. We've always supported it. We've always gone, and they're amazing people who have created such a fantastic experience and a crew and a culture within this festival. So if you've never gone, you should check it out. There are plenty of videos online. Desert Daze, D-A-Z-E. And if you have, well, then you know what I'm talking about. Without further ado, let's get Wanda ready for Desert Daze. We're going to take care of some of these inside projects that really need taken care of, like this roof right here, some of the wood in the back, the rot. We're going to do some framing. We're going to get this thing ready to go. We're going to put in some beds, because this is going to be used as a staff trailer pretty much only for sleeping. These people put in long hours. It's this amazing group of people, and I want to really make sure that they have a nice place to bed down. It's my pleasure to do it. Let's get started. The first job was to cut down the window that we purchased at the trailer graveyard a while back. The height was okay, but the length was too long, so we needed to not only cut the frame down, put it back together, but then also cut down the pieces of glass in order to make it to fit into the opening where the window was missing in Wanda. With both the frame and the glass cut to size, it's time to put the glass back into the slats, gently though, because you don't want to chip the edges or break the glass that you just spent all that time cutting. Looks like my measurements were okay for the glass, they're back in place and it's working like a dream. Now it's time to test out the measurements of the frame to see if I cut them to correct size. The opening was covered up by a piece of metal, so I needed to remove that and all of the sealant underneath it in order to make a nice tight fit for the window. So in order to get this ceiling panel off and reframe this vent area, we're going to have to take off the breaker box that's in here. It's coming down through the roof, which is a little different. Usually it comes in through the sidewall, but we're just going to loosen this up and see what goes. And I was looking at the wrong camera. Shoot. One of the things that we're kind of getting lucky with here on this panel is that it's exposed. Usually this is covered up by kitchen cabinetry, which we would then have to remove. Obviously that's been done for us and they no longer exist, so this is a straight run to the wall. But also sometimes it runs up underneath the closet. Then you have a real task in front of you because obviously this thing is built in. And the way these things were built in is that everything was put in before the aluminum. So everything's nailed from the outside. I'll be honest with you, it's a pain in the butt. I've done it before many times, but I'm really glad I don't have to do it this time. We're just going to replace this panel from here to here, and then that panel runs straight over to where this is from here to here, and then we'll expose the wood in here to see what kind of framing that we have to do to repair the vent.
Taking these panels off can take a while, especially when you stop and talk to the camera, but there are a lot of little nails and it takes a bit, so I'm glad I did a time lapse on this one.
This one's rotted through and came right off with the insulation, so we know we got to replace at least one of these, but we kind of expected that. So just getting the insulation off, and you might be able to hear all the little bits of aluminum dropping because the aluminum was put on last. When they fastened this down, little bits of aluminum ended up being deposited inside. Come on, here we go. Okay, here we have it. Nothing but the outside aluminum. Kind of hot as well. Everything's okay except for what we expected around the vent. There's where this one rotted through. Let's see if we can get a better shot of that. You see where this one rotted through. These are bad, so we'll replace those as well. Time to take on the back. Let's get this bed out of here and see what we can find underneath that wood. That's a light.
So after removing the bed slats and the piece of wood that I used to just cover up the rod on the back, I decided to put my respirator on because I was pretty sure that there was going to be a lot of particulates flying around and I didn't want to be breathing in any of that. This shot in particular just illustrates how much stuff was flying around in the air, and I'm really glad that I put the respirator on because I did not want to breathe any of that in.
So the back end needed to have a lot of wood replaced, and as I probably mentioned before, the way these things are put together is they're framed in, the birch is put on, all the woodwork is done, cabinetry is put in, and then the aluminum goes on afterwards. At least that's what I've found in doing the reverse process. So usually when there's wood damage like this, the aluminum's coming off the back, all the framing's out, this thing's wide open, you could crawl in and out of it, and it's a big process. This time around I started thinking, and I came up with something a little bit different. What I did was I used bigger pieces of wood, which I like to do because the way these things are put together, it's almost funny in some instances. I want you to look at this. Look at this wood right here. This is the wood that they use for the corners. So there's not a lot to this stuff. So I like to use bigger pieces of wood and give it a little more beef, a little more heft. What I did in this instance was I pattern cut some things to work in with the wood that's still good. With the tail light, a piece of wood that's here, good wood across where the window is, where the storage compartment is, and use those to strengthen everything. So it's got wood glue, it's going to have some screws, it's going to have nails, it's going to have a little bit of everything. It's going to be super tight. I also notched out the back of the wood for the wire to run behind it so that it won't get smashed. And on the pieces that go across the back, I screwed them in from behind just like they were if they were put in without the metal there. And that way, when the new birch goes on, it's going to have a nice even seam. Everything's going to look just like it used to. Lots of work getting done this weekend, and we're getting to get it ready for Desert Daze, so we're going to really hustle. I'm on a time budget here, so let's go. Okay, good news on the roof. So a lot of the wood was rotted, damaged on one side of the vent. And obviously the wood is toast. It caused this other beam to be bowed. It's in really good shape. There was some dark staining on one side of it, but it was really solid. There was not even a soft spot anywhere on it, and so I was able to use that to my advantage. I flipped it upside down, and now it's working for me as a bow that will raise the roof. It's going to be really good for a really long time. The other stuff did need to be replaced, and I picked out a piece on purpose that also had a bow. The two together are going to say, let's make it just let's just say another 50-year roof. That just saved me a lot of time. It even had the notches for the electrical already in it, so that was a good thing. I have a lot of birch to get the head up. I got to do the back end and the sides there. I got to do the top here, and it's about midday, and this is pretty much the last day that I've got to do this, so I need to jump on it. Let's go.
One thing about cutting out the birch is that you really want to take your time, because in this piece there's notches. There's notches for the electrical, there's a cutout for the vent, and you really want to take your time and make sure you measure it right so that you don't mess up a good piece of birch and waste a lot of time. This time, I think I did a pretty good job of it.
Well, not too bad, and I didn't even mess up the cutouts.
With the framing done and the birch in place, the last thing to do was to remove the old vent, which wasn't an easy task because to even find the screws that hold it on, I had to dig through layers and layers of roofing materials, tar, silicone, all manner of sealants that had been put on this over the years. And what made this job even tougher was the fact that it was just a hot day and I'm on top of the roof, so the sun's beating down from the top of me, it's reflecting off the top of the trailer, so I was really just glad to get this job over with.
Hello, and as it turns out, good morning. Just wanted to give you guys a brief update on what happened over the weekend. We got everything done that we needed to do. So the back end got put back together, reframed, new birch. Bed is back in order, and we're done there. The piece on the top has been done and completed. We're going to get a vent here in the next day or so. And I've also started on making the front bed area right here. So we're going to have dinettes in there, and that's going to turn into a bed. I'm just going to make it into a bed right now. So we got a lot done on this, but there's still a lot more to do. And right now we are T-minus 4 days until we drop this thing off at the festival. So I got to get the bed made. We got to get cushions for everything, get the vent in, do an electrical check on everything to make sure that they're going to have electricity in here, get an AC unit and put it in here for them as well, because it's going to be hot out there. So a lot of work to do. Let's go.
Well, I really want these benches to be sturdy, so I'm going to use some wood glue in addition to the screws to put it together. These things are going to take a lot of weight over the years, being sat on when they're in the bench position. When they're put down into the bed position, you have to run the risk of people flopping into them, and you want them to stay sturdy.
Ah, that's nice.
All right, there you have it. So we've got the dinettes built in. These will have cushions on the top, cushions on the back, and then there'll be some supports that run in between these two pieces of wood on each side, lay across there, and that will span the distance for the bed to come over. Later, as we get a little bit deeper into the restoration of Wanda, there will be a table that comes out right here, and then that will put down onto these rails right here, making the bed when the cushions fold out. But for right now, it's only going to be a bed. We've got the bed done in the back, we've got the bed done in the front, and tomorrow we go look for cushions at one of my favorite places to go to. It's not a graveyard, but it is a surplus yard. Hopefully they'll have some cushions that we can use. I've found some really cool vintage ones there in the past, and if not, I'm going to go ahead and just buy the new foam. We're also going to find a vent for the roof, hopefully cushions for the back. Oh, and one other thing, it's kind of cool. I did an electrical check today. When you turn on the breaker right here, you have lights, and more lights. So we were missing a light right here, and I just happen to have some old vintage fixtures, and so we were able to put this one on right there, and each of them has an outlet actually, so I've been charging my phone, and so will the folks at Desert Daze.
Walt sells new stuff, but it's also a lot of surplus and salvage. So that's what we're going to be looking for today. We're going to be looking for some cushions that hopefully fit the size that we need for what the Shasta requires. It's going to be hit and miss. We're going to have to hunt around a little bit, but that's part of the fun of it. All right, so let's just jump in and see what we can find.
Shopping here can be a bit of an overwhelming experience because there are literally just rows and rows of parts, from tail lights and running lights to doorknobs and handles. There are vents and tables. There's so much stuff, and it's literally piled everywhere, even spilling into the aisles sometimes. It is just truly an exploration, and it's a lot of fun, actually. Wow, there are quite literally tons of things to see here. Part of the fun of this place is even just finding what you need and where it's located. So once you find your way back to the upholstery where the chairs are, you see there's beds, but then beyond that there are racks of just singular cushions, bits of beds, and so it's up to us now to go through all this stuff and see if we can find something that we need for Wanda. It's hot up here. And the treasures aren't just contained to inside the warehouse. There's actually an outside yard with even more. This is where they have all of the doors, they have ladders, air conditioning units, even trailers that are under restoration. And back in these trailers, I actually found another little treasure. And of course, I could not help but take a closer look at this beauty. It looked like it was in fairly decent shape inside. Perhaps one day, when I have a little bit more time and I'm not on such a schedule to get Wanda done, I'll come back and ask about it and maybe see if I can get a tour inside.
Well, we struck out on cushions at Walt's, but I did get the vent and the lampshade that we're looking for. Since we didn't find any cushions, we're heading to my next favorite place, A1 Foam and Fabric.
One thing that I really wanted to do for Wanda, and I think this is really important to relaxation, was privacy. So using some fabric that I had collected from thrift stores over the years, I fashioned some makeshift curtains. Now, I didn't have a sewing machine, so I just had to use safety pins and just make it work. They actually worked pretty nicely, but I may have to ask for a sewing machine from Santa Claus this year. We did it. We got Wanda ready in time for Desert Daze. We've got everything that we need in here to sleep the staff. And let's show you kind of what's going on here. So the beds are in. Got some sheets on those. The curtains are all in, so they have a little bit of privacy. Put in a little bit of a shelf here next to the bed. So we have this nice big bed's going to sleep 2 people in it. Could probably sleep 2 in the front. And then right here in this spot, we're going to have an air conditioner. We also got the closet area cleaned up, some paper down there, cleaned up the icebox, we'll have some storage. So, mission accomplished. Time to suit up.
Goodness, that fit. It's the first time I've ever tried it.
Well, there's no arguing that Wanda's come a long way. We still have a long way to go with her full restoration, but I believe this is going to do very well for the Desert Daze experience. So please join us, come along to Desert Daze, Let's have some fun.